Welcome to the channel. I'm super nervous on this one. This is the first time I'm showing my face in the video. It's probably a bad combination because I'm also going to be going into how I ended up in the truck camper in the first place. I'm kind of nervous about also this video because I don't know how it's going to be received compared to my other videos. Some of my videos only got into the double digits, so the last video I made, I should say, is into what 40,000 views now, which is astronomical. Like, I'm really thankful and appreciative of everyone who watched my videos, especially everyone who liked and commented on the video. YouTube's like the only thing like that's going for me right now. It really makes my day reading the comments and seeing all the positive feedback and all the people that are reaching their hand out, willing to help. Really makes my day. I do take the time to read all the comments, so if you yourself have a YouTube channel and have videos, let me know down in the comment section. I'd be happy to watch your videos. So rewind to 2023. It's January of 2023 to be exact. I was living at a trailer. I got a few video clips of it, not too much, but if you notice, if you look through the clip, there are no windows where I was sleeping at in the trailer. It was pretty much like being in solitary confinement. Luckily, I had my dog Zero there with me. Or my ex-girlfriend's trailer. She had inherited it from her grandfather, and we were renovating it. And the trailer was really awful. It was, the water hardly ever worked. We had to replace the well pump every other year. Um, the furnace went out and the beginning, and it cost too much to refill the propane tank. We ended up just finding other means to keep the place warm. Me and my ex-girlfriend's relationship went sour. We ended up breaking up. She moved out, but I ended up living there by myself with my dog Zero. Me and my ex first broke up. Where I'm parked now, the owner of the residence told me to move in with them. It was, like do it now type of deal. I didn't really, you know, I was willing, that's for sure. I was like, okay. I wanted to get out there. I wanted to get out of that trailer as soon as I could. The water didn't work, the furnace didn't work, and it just had bad memories tied to it. So, when they made this offer for me to move in, I took it. So I grabbed all my stuff, and it seems like it was an offer made out of anger because when I showed up with my stuff, they had changed their mind and told me to go back to the trailer. Since that didn't work out, I ended up going back to the trailer and going through the winter. And the winters were rough there, obviously, and it was really hard. The breakup. I took the breakup pretty well, but it's still hard, and just a lot of memories tied to the trailer and just the home. So me and my dog end up pushing through the winter. And I was working a part-time job at the time, so it wasn't too hard on him. He's a good boy, so he wouldn't chew on any cords or anything like that. So I could leave a space heater with him, and he'd be fine in the trailer. Luckily, that year in particular wasn't too cold. So in the spring, summertime, I ended up getting a second job, and things were looking up. Part of the deal of me staying at the trailer was cutting the grass and weeding, like weeding. It was constantly weeds growing, so it was kind of a full-time job. So once it started to begin to getting cold again, so I almost stayed an entire year in that trailer by myself with my dog, putting up with no water. So now it's coming up into the winter months, and I'm working two jobs, so I wasn't sitting well with that because my dog was by himself for like 12 to 14 hours a day now. And it's getting cold, so it's hard to keep up with that. I wanted to make sure he was comfortable, and I had given up on the idea of moving pretty much here to where I'm parked now after that offer was retracted before. So one of my cousins actually had mentioned um, moving in with him, and I was looking into apartments. At the time, not feasible for me to rent an apartment, so my best bet was moving in with my cousin. um, the only problem was he wasn't allowed to have dogs, so that kind of held me up. But my brother ended up offering to take my dog Zero and watch over him, as long as I bought the food and took him to the vet or whenever anything arose. So anyway, things were looking up. I had 2 jobs. Um, I had moved in with my cousin, and there was no hiccups. We lived together nicely. There was really no hiccups with the added stress of the new store. Until one day I got a text from my brother, and he said that my dog Zero had a flap, or his skin was kind of protruding on his belly. So I went over and checked it out. He was acting fine. He wasn't, didn't seem like he was in any pain or anything. But I still decided to take him to the vet, and that turned out to be, from what I thought it was going to be a routine checkup type deal, and it turned into a tragedy. So I bring my dog in, and they're going to check out this protruding sack on, well, it was just, loose hanging skin. He's old. He was just 12 or 13 at this point. The vets went to look at him. Uh, they needed to have the muzzle on because he was growling at them whenever they reached for his chest or near his belly to check it out. So they handed me the muzzle to try and put it on him, and they, like, I probably tried maybe once or twice. It was maybe about 10 seconds that I tried putting the muzzle on my dog, and he's an old grumpy dog. He didn't he wasn't having it. So they said he was being too stubborn, so they decided that they were going to sedate him, which, if that's what they thought was best, I went with it. I said, her look at it, that's fine. So I never signed anything. I only gave my verbal consent to it, and they took my dog back, and um, I heard him screaming, and it wasn't like a yelp or anything. It literally sounded like they were hurting him. And and obviously at that point it already turned sour, and made my blood boil, and I just could only assume that he was resisting getting the shot to put him to sleep, or put him the anesthetic. And it was like 15-20 minutes after they gave him a shot, I hear him rustling again and kind of screaming, and it sounded like they were hurting him again. And one of the vets came up to me and was like, he's being stubborn, he's not going to sleep, so we're gonna administer another anesthesia shock and or shot another anesthesia shot. And I was kind of surprised, just because I figured they weighed him and would know the exact amount to give him. I don't know how they went about it, and I couldn't see because they took him in back, so I didn't really know how or what was going on. But even the time frame of when this was happening, I was there for probably 2 hours, but it felt like longer than that. So after they said they're going to administer the second shot, and I hear him screaming, I don't know, like, everything just kind of went quiet and silent, and I heard the doctor scream or the nurse or vet. I heard the vet call for someone to help, and next thing I know, all the vets in the clinic all rush into the same room that my dog's in. And they came up to me at one point. They did not say much of anything. It's really hard to, like, compress everything, and like I said, I don't really want to step on anyone's toes. But okay, so when they administered the second shot and they were screaming for all the vets to go into the room, it went silent for a while. All the screaming and everything kind of settled down, and I wholeheartedly thought I lost my dog that day. I was afraid they were going to come in the room and say that something had happened. But eventually they did come out with him, and when they came out with him, he was stumbling. He looked tired. His eyes looked lifeless. he looked really rough, and they didn't even mention anything about what had happened back there. They just started going on about, the skin being benign and it not being anything to be concerned about. It almost seemed like they tried brushing everything off and trying to wipe their hands of it and push me out as soon as they could. Because usually after, you have a vet, you know, exam or anything like that, they usually sit there and talk to you for quite some time, but it seemed like they were doing everything to get me out. So they handed me the leash to walk him out, and as I was walking out, I was just watching him the whole time. I really, you know, I don't know, I was really shook. I was disgusted. I was angry, but I was keeping my mouth shut. They must have mistook my silence for stupidity, but I bit my tongue. And as I was about to pay my bill, he fell to my feet and started having a seizure, and right in front of everybody in the guest room. And it was really traumatic for me, but I'm sure everyone else there felt some kind of way too. So I seeing this, I felt like something broke inside of me. I was just locked on in trance, just watching him the whole time. And when he fell to the ground, my ears started ringing. I just, everything just kind of faded out, and I didn't really come back to until the vets came up and scooped my dog off the ground and pulled him to the back, and they just left me there. Didn't say anything. And again, I was just left there without knowing anything, just kind of in the dark. And one nurse or vet was sitting there saying, "Oh, your dog's old. It could, he could have had, this could have happened because of that." And I asked her, "Did he have a seizure?" And she agreed that he had a seizure, but she would not admit that it was their wrongdoing. So finally, at this point, they bring my dog out again, and he looks a little more lively this time. And all I wanted to do is leave with him. I just wanted to take him home, or I just wanted to get him out of there, really. So I ended up paying my bill, and all they charged me for was trimming his nails. It was $35 deal. They didn't charge me for any of the anesthetic or anything like that. So like I said, it seemed like they just wanted to push me out of there. And I did. Me being the ignorant person I am, didn't really know what to do. I just wanted to leave with him. On the car ride home, I watched him meticulously. I've never seen my dog sleep before. If I'm up, he's up. The whole time I was just watching him breathe and just hoping, he was all right. And I finally got to my brother's house to drop him off because I still had to go to my second job, and I didn't think of trying to call off the whole time, so I should have done that prior to. So I ended up just leaving my dog with my brother and just checking in through text, and that was probably one of the hardest work days of, my life. I just wanted to leave and see my dog. I didn't want to be there, but I went. It just kind of compiled with, just the stress of being there, the stress on my truck. And to be fair, I wouldn't have been able to work there much longer anyway, because once I converted my truck camper, I wouldn't have been able to fit all the sandwiches in the back of my truck anymore. But I had another 2 runs to the college that night, the second night after this all happened, and I literally just wanted to see my dog. I probably could have called off work or something like that, but I made the mistake of not doing that. I went in thinking I'd be all right, but I was going through a roller coaster of emotions with that. And ultimately, I had another run to the college, and it was completely packed. Like, it was really, it almost seemed impossible to get in. And with everything weighing in on me, ultimately I just turned around, walked back into Jimmy John's and set the sandwiches down on the counter and just walked out. And afterwards, it really did feel like the most freeing thing in the world, knowing that I was just free to just go and see my dog, or just, in control of being able to do that, because it was too much for me. I like this whole rest of that month, I had to see my dog pretty much as possible. Like, I was paranoid that something was gonna happen, something was wrong with him. with that, I was out of my second job, and it started becoming difficult to be able to afford living with my cousin. But I was managing, and my money started dwindling down. And right when that happened, I got a text from my cousin, him saying that the landlord had mentioned that, because I only had agreed to be there for so long, and he pretty much said it was time for me to go. Otherwise, I would have to put my name on the lease as well, and they would have to increase the rent for the two of us. So it wasn't even like a rug pull or anything like that. I knew it was coming. I just really bad timing with everything with that happening to my dog, and I ultimately just ended up quitting that job, and it was bad timing. So on the start of the video, living in my truck camper build, I'll put it somewhere so you know kind of where it starts. That's where um, I knew that I basically had a time period of when I had to get out of the apartment. So I rushed and put together this truck camper build. So after I had the truck camper somewhat finished, or at least livable and lockable, I needed a place to park. So I ended up just moving to, or parking it on this spot, which is the property of the person that had invited me originally to move in here in the first place, but kept changing their minds. So it was actually 3 different times that they kept volleying that to where they're like, oh, you can move in. And then as soon as I go to do it, they changed their mind 2 times. And then the third time I asked if I could put a camper where I'm parked now, and that one was okayed until I actually went to go buy the camper, and then that was instantly no'd. So when I started parking here, I just started parking here. I didn't ask for permission. I just, you know, the whole don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. Um, it was funny because a month later, the person asked me, where have I been? And me being the honest person I am, I pretty much was like, yeah, I've been just parking back there. Surprised you didn't notice, you know. And I think it was more of a protection of one's self character. They didn't want to be seen as someone that, you know, kicked me out of the spot just for simply parking somewhere. You know, I do my best not to, you know, use anything, or you know, I try to keep my head down and make it to where you don't notice that I'm here at all. So there was a little bit of passive aggressiveness, and they definitely didn't like that I was doing it. And over time it became more of an understanding, but still I'm at that point where at any point in time I could be kicked out of the spot. So I'm preparing as much as I can for it, but you know, at this point I'm in the summer months, you know, it's not too bad out, you know, so if I did end up getting kicked out, it wouldn't have been a big deal. That is until it started hitting towards the colder months like now. So with that, that's when I moved in. You know, I was living in my truck camper. You know, things weren't great. You know, uh, having the having a bit of depression from being stuck in the situation I am, um, having feelings of kind of like neglect of, you know, certain people that you would think would help you that didn't. Um, Obviously, I had people willing to help, like my brother who was watching my dog. And now, this is when we hit October of 2024. I get a text message from my brother near the end of my workday, and I feel like he did it on purpose so I wasn't to worry. But he messaged me that my dog was not doing too well and to go over to his house as soon as I get off work. And I do exactly that. As soon as I got off work, I get to his house, and when I go through the door, my nephew's in tears. My brother looks beat up, and there was my dog breathing really hard, but he was standing. And as soon as he seen me, he greeted me like he normally does, but he looked so tired. He had the same look on his face like at the vet when they gave him the shots of anesthetic, but he looked really weak, and he nuzzled my leg, and I gave him pets, and he hugged up on me, and after that initial uh, greeting, he kind of just wanted to be to himself. He was just breathing really hard and pacing, like he was really fighting it, and I sat there and watched him for hours, and me and my brother discussed it, and I was like, we gotta bring him somewhere. We gotta do something. And my brother sent a chill down my spine, and he said that he thought it was probably too late, and that we probably just have to wait and see in the morning. So that kind of hit me hard, and I hadn't eaten at that point. So I told him I was gonna go and get something to eat, and I'd be right back. And no sooner I parked and made myself a meal, as soon as I finished eating, I get a message from my brother that he had passed away. And I immediately went back and seen him, lifeless. And I got, in a way, it was easier for me that way. I just said my goodbyes, and had what I needed from the moment. And when I got there, my brother said that as soon as I left, that he wanted to go outside, and he wandered off into a dark location, laid down, and took his last breath. So when I got there, we mourned over his loss, kind of talked about things, tried to figure out where we were gonna bury him, because I obviously didn't have anywhere to bury him. So the next day, we woke up early, and me and my brother buried my dog and said some words, and we both ended up going to work afterwards. And it was really hard on me, but it was also hard on him and his family. And um, I couldn't really ask for a better brother. He gave my dog such a good life near the end. Like, I didn't mind living in the back of my truck camper. I didn't mind suffering as long as my dog was doing all right. He had a good life. He had a little girlfriend. My brother had a little dog that was 3 years old, so he got a little girlfriend at the end of his life. He had my nephews there almost all day, and someone was always there with him. So he had a good one going out. And that's really all I could ask for. So I'm really appreciative of my brother for taking care of my dog when I couldn't. And I love you for that, bro. And it really hurts. And this happened in October, so through November, I just kind of was going through the ups and downs of going through it and accepting what had happened. So I haven't been as productive with a whole build or YouTube videos or anything like that. Um, but I knew it was coming, and now I'm doing a lot better as far as it goes. So I'm ready to kick things in and start moving forward. One good thing about this all is all the things that used to bug me seem so minute now. It's just kind of overshadowed with the grief I'm feeling. And again, I don't know how this video is going to be received. It was really kind of a hard video for me to make, not only getting used to filming myself, this being the first time I show my face in a video, but also kind of compressing all that happened. Like I said, I really didn't want to step on anyone's toes, so I didn't go deep into detail about anything really. Maybe one day I will go deeper into detail about it, but I was already feeling kind of bad. I didn't want to feel like I was capitalizing off the tragedy of the loss of my dog. But if there's one thing I can gain from any of this, is I really would like to be able to help people. Like, I feel like I'm finally on the right path.